As someone who is into filmmaking, photography, editing and whatnot, the XPS line from Dell is no stranger to me. In fact, I would even say that if you're looking for a Windows-based laptop that can fit into your creative workflow, the XPS line will be one of the first series that will pop into your head. So here I have with me the latest iteration of the XPS 13, and to get straight to the point, it's a fantastic laptop that I can wholeheartedly recommend. But of course, that's not to say that it's without its flaws. But there are so many things that Dell got right on this laptop that just made the overall experience with it downright great. The first thing you'll notice is the revamped design. Gone is the chin, and quite a few bits of it are refined, like the keyboard and the display. Overall, the 9300 model does actually look much better in my opinion compared to the previous generation. And just like its 2-in-1 brother, which I did review quite a while back, it got its inspiration from there. It's compact, lightweight, and just looks much more professional. Now, although I'm not quite a big fan of white laptops in general, Dell did provide with me the white version of the XPS 13 for this review, and to be honest, it's starting to grow on me. Like the black model, you do get the carbon fiber as well. Although it is not as obvious, it still feels just as great, and I do feel that it does give a little bit of tonality and a bit of contrast to the overall white color scheme. It really looks great. Moving on, we have the display, and that's the biggest difference this generation. You of course get a few options, a full HD panel with or without touch support, as well as a 4K panel with touch support that we have right here. But the main difference this time around is the aspect ratio. Dell has gone with 16:10 instead of the more traditional 16:9. Personally, I do prefer a 3:2 aspect ratio for laptops this size, but with that said, I still do really like this display. The 16:10 aspect ratio gives a little more vertical space, and the primary reason is that it allows you to view your media at full resolution while still leaving space for some UI elements and stuff. You may correct me if I'm wrong, but 16:10 has always been a creative aspect ratio as far as I can remember. In any case, it's a nice display that has really good color, making it great for consuming content or even editing in Lightroom or DaVinci Resolve. Though personally, I would still go for the 1080p variants. Despite the thin bezels all around, Dell has also managed to cram in a webcam which does support Windows Hello for authentication. It's just a 720p webcam, so the image quality is a little lacking, but it is there with decent microphones. In short, it will get the job done. If you don't want to use the camera to unlock the laptop, you can also use a fingerprint sensor that's built right on the power button, so you have a few options available. Speaking of which, the keyboard. The keyboard is downright great. I dare say that it's on par with the keyboard of that on the Surface laptop, at least for me. The layout is great, the keys themselves feel tactile and have a good amount of travel, and because Dell positions the keyboard as high as possible, you do get a fair amount of space for your wrist to rest on, which makes the typing experience even better. As for the trackpad, it's slightly bigger this year, and just like before, it feels great. It runs precision, tracks well, easy to use with your thumb while typing, and overall, it's just a great trackpad. Not much to complain about. Talking a little bit about sound, the speakers on this laptop are actually pretty good. They are down-firing, located on the sides, and while it's nowhere near a MacBook, they don't sound bad like most other laptops do. It's pretty clear, have a bit of bass, and the sound does sound full for a laptop this size. I think that most of you out there will definitely like what you get. We then come to ports, and this is where it gets a slight downgrade compared to the previous generation. You now only get 2 USB-C ports on either side, along with your 3.5mm headphone mic combo jack and a micro SD card reader. That's it. So compared to the previous generation, you lose a USB-C port, but also that battery indicator that's located on the sides. I'm kind of okay with the battery indicator not being there, but losing a USB-C port is kind of a bummer. We then come to performance. Our model has the Intel Core i7-1065G7, 16GB of RAM running at 3733MHz, and a 1TB NVMe drive. For Cinebench R20, the XPS 13 did fare pretty well, in line with most of the other laptops I reviewed that featured the same CPU. In DaVinci Resolve, the 1080p edit took about 45 minutes to render, while the 4K edit took about 1 hour and 20 minutes. Do note however that the TDP of this i7 is the 15W variant, and not the 25W that some other laptops have. While performance isn't mind-blowing, the temperatures did actually impress me. Although the CPU wasn't boosting much, mostly sticking to the base clock, the temperatures rarely exceeded 85 degrees Celsius, if at all, Most of the time, it was hovering in the low 80s, and on top of that, the fan noise wasn't all that loud. To me, that is really impressive. I feel that Dell has struck a nice balance between performance, thermals, and noise, all within a thin and light form factor. Then again, Cinebench is but just a benchmark, and Resolve is quite taxing, and generally not what you would want to do with a laptop like this. If you're more of a photographer, then the XPS 13 is going to perform really well for applications like Lightroom and Photoshop, and in that regard, it's honestly great. If you open it up, you don't get access to much. In fact, you can only change the SSD, while the rest are soldered on. Here, you can also see that the battery takes up most of the space. It's a 52 Wh battery, not particularly huge, but not too small either. I'm getting around 8 hours of real-world usage with it, though do note that it's the 4K model. Should you get the 1080p model, you can probably hit 10 hours or more. Overall, it's a laptop that just performs. To me, it's like a MacBook Pro. It's kind of like a MacBook Pro, but a Windows-based version of it. It's got a great display, good design, great performance, so on and so forth. The XPS line is something that I can just wholeheartedly recommend. If you need something small, the XPS 13. A bit more performance, go for the 15 or perhaps the new 17. Now it is a little pricey here in Singapore, but I do feel that it is well worth your dollars. So those are my thoughts. If you have any questions, drop us a comment down below. Consider supporting us by checking out the affiliate links in the description as well. If you do, thanks for your support. Don't forget to subscribe to us, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Till the next one. See ya!